Have you ever felt completely stuck? Like no matter what you tried, no matter how hard you fought, the outcome was going to be bad anyway. That heavy feeling is not just sadness, it's something deeper, a psychological state called learned helplessness. And it was discovered in one of the most shocking and controversial experiments in the 20th century. In the 1960s, two psychologists used dogs and electric shocks to prove that despair is not natural, it's learned. Once acquired, it can rewire the mind so deeply that even when the escape is possible, the victim doesn't move. Today, we're going to walk through the full story of that experiment, the difference that doomed some dogs while saving others, and most importantly, how the same invisible trap shapes depression, relationships, and even entire societies. And by the end, you'll know how to spot helplessness in yourself and how to break free even when escape seems impossible. The discovery of learned helplessness was made by Martin Seligman and Stephen Maier in 1967. They were not trying to traumatize animals. At first, they were studying conditioning, but what they found changed psychology forever. The brilliance of their method was something called a triadic design. Group A, we have a group of escapable group dogs. So these dogs were placed in a harness and given strong electrical shocks, but they could turn the shocks off by pressing a panel with their nose. They learned that action produced relief. Group B, the inescapable group, these dogs were harnessed and received shocks that were identical in length and intensity to Group A. But the twist is the shocks stopped only when their paired dog in Group A turned it off. Group B had no control over it. No matter what they did, the pain continued. And lastly, Group C, the naive group. These dogs received no shocks at all. They served as a baseline. So Group A and Group B received exactly the same amount of pain. The difference was not physical, it was psychological, because one group learned that actions matter and the other group learned that nothing they do helps. After conditioning, all three groups were placed in a new device, a shuttle box. It was simple, a box divided by a low barrier. A bell would ring and 10 seconds later the floor on one side would electrify. To escape, the dog had only to jump over the low barrier to the safe side of the box. And here's where the results shocked the world. Group A dogs, who had learned to control, jumped the barrier almost immediately. They knew action mattered. The dogs in Group C, the naive ones, figured out quickly too. A few jumps and they learned to avoid the shocks. And Group B dogs, the ones who had been conditioned to believe nothing worked, just lay down. They whimpered, they accepted the shocks, even though the escape was right in front of them, they didn't even try. The conclusion was clear. Helplessness is not about pain, it's about belief. The dogs in Group B had been conditioned to believe their actions did not matter, and that belief paralyzed them even in a new situation where escape was actually easy. Despair, Seligman showed, it's not just sadness or exhaustion, it's a learned passivity. Once the brain generalizes nothing I do works, it stops trying even when the cage door is wide open. This experiment became a cornerstone of psychology because it explains so many destructive human patterns. Now think about it. Abusive relationships. Victims stay, not because they can't leave, but because their past attempts to change or escape failed. They've learned to believe freedom is impossible, even when help is obviously available. The discouraged student, after failing test after test after test, they stop studying. I'm just bad at this, they say. They stop trying new strategies, tutors, or practice. They don't even look for an escape. Political apathy. Citizens stop voting, believing one person's voice can't change anything. They resign themselves to the status quo. But the damage of helplessness is not physical, it's cognitive, it blinds us. The mind makes a sweeping false generalization. Past failures equal permanent failures. And once you believe that, you can't even see the low barrier that could save you. The good news is that helplessness is learned, which means it can also be unlearned. Seligman later discovered that dogs who learned early that their actions produced results became immune to the helplessness later. So they were psychologically inoculated by early wins. Humans can do the same. Listen to 3 lies in your own self-talk. One is the lie of permanence. This will always be this way. This nothing works. It never works. Next, look out for the lie of pervasiveness. I failed at this, so I'm a failure at everything. Next one is the lie of personalization. It's all my fault, even when external factors were at play. When you hear those absolutes, you're not seeing reality. You are seeing the shadow of your past failures. What can you do about it? Number one, acknowledge control. Identify one thing, however small, you can control. Even choosing your next thought interrupts helplessness. Next, take the low barrier jump. Force yourself to do one small action that guarantees success. One paragraph, one application, one push up. Each win proves effort still matters. And lastly, stack micro successes. Early victories inoculate you against despair. Treat them like a vaccine. The more proof your brain has that actions leads to outcomes, the harder it is for helplessness to take hold. Ask yourself, what's the one thing I've done recently that actually worked? By deliberately searching for evidence of your competence, you build new conditioning, the opposite of group B that was paralyzed. The tragedy about this study was not that the dogs gave up, it was that they carried yesterday's truth into today's. They behave as if they were still strapped into the harness, even though the cage was different and freedom was possible. Their minds imprisoned them long after the environment had changed. And that's exactly what humans do. We fail 3 times and then stop trying forever. We act like the walls are still electrified even when the power has been shut off. The real danger of helplessness is not pain, it's outdated belief. It's treating the present as if it is the past, and it blinds us to opportunities right in front of us. What do the dogs in the shock box teach us? That despair is not a natural reaction to suffering, it's a belief, a habit, a generalization. And once you learn it, it can paralyze you into accepting pain you don't have to live with. But what is learned can also be unlearned. You can train yourself with small wins, with deliberate actions, and with purpose. The most dangerous prison isn't built of shocks and walls, it's built of your own mind. And the key to breaking out is refusing to let yesterday's failure define today's possibility, because the barrier might be lower than you think, and freedom might be one jump away. If this story made you rethink where helplessness is holding you back, subscribe to The Dark Mirror. See you next time.